here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
America, Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Let me help our friends up on Capitol Hill, Jim Jordan's committee, and let me educate Alvin Bragg, who really must have flunked law school. He says today in a federal lawsuit brought in the Southern District of New York, essentially that Congress has no jurisdiction in a local prosecutorial matter, and he's asking the court to tell Congress to butt out. Now, the simple answer to that isn't even that there's federal money involved. I have better answers, and I hope they're listening on Capitol Hill. Number one, Mr. Bragg is interfering and affecting and influencing a federal election. Of this, there is no doubt, there is no question. That's why there's national interest in this. Donald Trump is the Republican who's leading in the polls for the nomination. Where that ends, I don't know, but that's the point. And so Mr. Bragg knows this. The fact is, objectively speaking, he's affecting an electoral process, a federal electoral process. Number two, as such, this is a matter that reaches well beyond Manhattan, New York. This is a matter that reaches throughout the nation. And ironically, that's why he's in federal court. And he didn't go to state court. He went into federal district court. Because it's a federal matter. Isn't he an idiot? I think he's an idiot. But here's what he knows. New York is a Democrat Party cesspool. The courts are full with Democrat hacks. Prosecutorial offices are full of Democrat hacks. The entire justice system, so-called, is filled with Democrat hacks. So, of course, there are numerous federal issues here. And the federal court can do one of two things in throwing out this case. Number one, Mr. Bragg, why are you here? Well, it's a federal matter. You need to stop. Oh, okay. You just defeated your argument. Number two, Mr. Bragg, clearly there are federal issues here. And so I'm throwing your case out because Congress has wide latitude to hold hearings. And I don't think there's any question that the criminal process that you have triggered will affect a Republican primary process and a presidential election. So, of course, there's federal jurisdiction. Of course, there's a legislative purpose by Congress. Case closed. It's over. It's done with. I had to waste literally 5 minutes of your time and your intelligence on this. Could I be wrong? No. Could a court rule differently? Yes. But I am not wrong. I am correct. Whoever leaked the top secret information, whoever leaked these documents, these Pentagon documents about Russia and China, and all this information about their plans with Ukraine, about their reach into Latin America and the Caribbean, about the decline of the United States, that person has committed a treasonous act. And they should face the death penalty. That's correct. I don't care who they are. I don't care what party they're in. I don't care if they have 5 stars on their shoulders or no stars at all. I don't care if they're in the military or not. I don't care if they're combat heroes or not. This is what treason looks like. This. And here's a piece in the Miami Herald. A recent leak of U.S. classified intelligence reports appears to confirm what many Latin American and Caribbean watchers have warned about in recent years. Russia and China are trying to gain a foothold amid waning U.S. leadership. Excuse me, I've been talking about this month after month after month on Fox, behind this microphone, on Levin TV. Screenshots of some of those documents obtained by the Miami Herald show that Russian mercenaries were planning to pitch a plan to provide security in Haiti after months of unsuccessful negotiations led by the United States to form a multinational force to help tackle escalating armed gang violence in the Caribbean nation. They also reveal that the Russian government was trying to use Brazil's offer to mediate in a war the Kremlin launched against Ukraine to its advantage. Also, according to the highly classified document, Mark, why are you reading it? It's all over the media, America. If I just keep quiet about it, it's not going to change a damn thing. I want to confront this and address it. China's benefiting from the Russian-Ukraine war in countries like Nicaragua, where Moscow is a key security partner. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby said President Joe Biden was briefed last week when the administration, quote, first got word that there were some documents out there, unquote, asked if there were more documents circulating, and if they believed the leak had been contained. Kirby said, we don't know. We truly don't know. Yeah, they are busy on Trump, you see, in Mar-a-Lago. Evan Ellis, a research professor of Latin American Studies at the U.S. Army War College Strategic Studies Institute, said that as a U.S. government civilian employee could not confirm or deny or explicitly comment on leaked classified documents. But public source documents clearly show U.S. officials have growing concern about Russia, China, and Iran's presence in our hemisphere. This was not going on under Trump. The region, quote, is at an unprecedented level of political and economic crisis, in which you have many different states, he said, which are kind of teetering on the edge in terms of whether they continue to be transparent democratic regimes or something more radical, said Ellis. The sensitive material mainly contains secret U.S. intel assessments of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Copies of the documents started circulating on various social media sites weeks ago. Though the Miami Herald could not independently verify them, Pentagon officials have acknowledged most are authentic, though some appear to have been altered. The FBI is investigating the source of the leak. Wow. You mean they're going to take some of their agents off of the pursuit of January 6 trespassers? You see, folks, maybe if federal law enforcement, meaning the FBI, maybe if our intelligence agencies, maybe if the Defense Department bureaucracy were focused on their damn jobs rather than chasing innocent American citizens, whether they be people trespassing on January 6th and no more, or people who are peacefully protesting at abortion clinics, or parents who are protesting at school board meetings, maybe this crap wouldn't be going on. For God's sakes. One report relying on information collected by the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration said that as of late February, members of the Russian mercenary force, the Wagner Group, plan to discreetly travel to Haiti to assess the potential for contracts with Haiti government to fight against local gangs. It would surprise me that Wagner would be looking for business opportunities, Ellis said, adding that he has no personal knowledge of their plans. Oh, you don't say. Another report says that as of late February, Russian foreign affairs officials favored a Ukraine mediation proposal presented by Brazil's recently elected president. Brazil's president is a communist. That's why he's working with the communist Chinese. Nicaragua's president is a communist. He's president for life. Daniel Ortega, you might remember Reagan chased him out of the hemisphere, but he's back. In Chile, which used to be a free market democracy, Chile is a hardened socialist regime turning more and more toward Marxism. It's shocking. Bolivia is led by a Marxist. We know about Venezuela. We know about Cuba. And there's more. Argentina is now led by a radical socialist, moving more and more towards Marxism. And now China and Russia are coming into our hemisphere. There's an easy, Mark, how would you stop it? There's an easy way to stop this. You say, you know what, China? It wasn't that long ago when South Korea had tactical nuclear weapons. You got your buddies in North Korea firing missiles around. We're going to help arm them. And you know what, Japan? We're going to help arm Japan, too. And while we're at it, let's talk to our friends, the Australians and the Philippines. Let's talk to them, too. That's how you handle it. They're in our neighborhood, and we're in their neighborhood. That's how you handle it. All the pacifists, all the phonies. You want to debate Ukraine? I'll debate Ukraine and everything else. Here's what I've concluded. I've given this a lot of thought now, and I think it's quite obvious. You ready? World War III has already begun, ladies and gentlemen. We just don't know it yet. It's already begun. The enemy has launched it. The enemy is waging it. And the first battle of World War III is in Ukraine. That's the first battle, like the Sudetenland. That's Ukraine. The Sudetenland for Hitler. Oh, you know, they got Russian-speaking folks over there in Ukraine. Yes, they do. And there's serious questions about the boundaries there. Yes, there are. And our response is, well, it's none of our business. And so you have every a-hole here. I'm an American first. No, you're an idiot. You don't even see what's going on. The enemy's in our hemisphere. They're in Central and South America. They're managing both sides of the Panama Canal. They just took a deep water port in the Solomon Islands. Remember Guadalcanal? Remember the battles there? They have a deep water port on the west coast of Africa that faces us. They have the biggest navy on the face of the earth. They have the biggest infantry numbers on the face of the earth. They have stealth bombers. They have stealth fighters. You think they need all of that to defeat Taiwan? No, it's aimed at us. Now they're undermining our economy. We're undermining our economy with the idiot in the Oval Office. The dollar's no longer going to be the world currency. It's going to be China's currency. Can you imagine? In 2 short years, the United States is in this position. The war has begun. Not because I say so, but because I'm the first to recognize it. And I don't mean a Cold War. An actual physical military war has begun, and it's begun in Ukraine by Russia, part of the Axis powers of the new century. Iran is launching, through its surrogates, attacks on Israel, through its various terrorist organizations. I've got more. I've got a hard break. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Let me ask you, what the heck is going on with the banks? These bank failures are absolutely nuts. How are we supposed to find sanity in this mess? And I was talking with Augusta Precious Metals, and they said tons of people are buying gold to protect their retirement savings right now. I think it's more important than ever to own gold. And guess what? If you have $100,000 plus saved for retirement, Augusta will actually pay you in pure gold to learn how gold IRAs can protect you. Reach out to Augusta Precious Metals today and get started with gold. If you're worried about the bank failures, this is something you can do for yourself. Just call 877-4-GOLD-IRA to learn how to protect your retirement and get your free gold coin. That's Augusta Precious Metals at 877-4-GOLD-IRA. Again, 877-4-GOLD-IRA. Consult your financial professionals before any investment and see risk disclosures at AugustaPreciousMetals.com. I just posted my comments as I spoke to you. I just wrote a couple of sentences on social media. It's a strange thing, social media, but in addition to this platform, I think it's important to do that. And just to reiterate, World War III has begun. Not by us. We're still in a state of, I don't know, a state of pacifism, state of isolationism. I don't know what all these isolationists and pacifists are whining about. I mean, we're losing allies left and right to the enemy. The defense budget is flatlined, and with inflation, that means it's being cut. I don't know what they're complaining about, our war effort. We're giving weapons and support to Ukraine. Honestly, big deal. Big deal. They make that like it's the Maginot Line or something in World War II. It's not. The first battle of World War III began over a year ago in Ukraine, the Battle of Ukraine. It's only going to get worse. I'll be right back. Let me ask you, what the heck is going on with the banks? These bank failures are absolutely nuts. How are we supposed to find sanity in this mess? And I was talking with Augusta Precious Metals, and they said tons of people are buying gold to protect their retirement savings right now. I think it's more important than ever to own gold. And guess what? If you have $100,000 plus saved for retirement, Augusta will actually pay you in pure gold to learn how gold IRAs can protect you. Reach out to Augusta Precious Metals today and get started with gold. If you're worried about the bank failures, this is something you can do for yourself. Just call 877-4-GOLD-IRA to learn how to protect your retirement and get your free gold coin. That's Augusta Precious Metals at 877-4-GOLD-IRA. Again, 877-4-GOLD-IRA. Consult your financial professionals before any investment and see risk disclosures at AugustaPreciousMetals.com.
The Mark Levin Show is tomorrow's morning show. You can reach Mark now at 877-381-3811.
You know, my family says to me, and my father used to say to me, and my mother too, you better be careful about the things that you say. I said, what do you mean? About Putin and about Xi. I said, why? Just be careful. My wife says that to me, too. Be careful. Okay. I'm going to be careful. Whatever that means. Want to hear more about our own hemisphere? According to the leaked report, Nicaragua, under the rule of Daniel Ortega and his wife, Rosario Murillo, see, they own these countries, quote, still views Russia, also interested in Bluefields, as its primary security partner. But since the beginning of Russia's full-scale war in Ukraine has expanded ties with Beijing, purchasing security equipment, agreeing to the presence of a Chinese military base and military access in Nicaragua. It assesses that Nicaraguan government probably would consider offering Beijing naval access in exchange for economic investment. What do you think, folks? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. During congressional testimony in February 2019, the director of U.S. Southern Command at the time, U.S. Navy Admiral Craig Fowler, told a Senate committee that Russia and China's growing influence in the hemisphere was among the chief security challenges affecting the United States. So why isn't Biden significantly increasing the defense budget? The most disturbing insight, he said, has been the degree to which external state actors, especially Russia, China, and Iran, are expanding their influence in the Western Hemisphere. Russia, in particular, enables actions in Venezuela, Nicaragua, Cuba, that threaten hemispheric security and prosperity. And now China's on the bandwagon. So is Iran. Does it sound like we have the right Secretary of Defense? Does it sound like we have the right head of the Joint Chiefs? Does it sound like we have the right anything? You see these former lieutenant colonels and major on TV, and these hosts and these phony experts going on about how we are warmongers, attacking American industrial might and just blowing them off as federal contractors. You should reject them. You should shut them off. At a minimum, if we conservatives are not going to unite around a strong military, about preparing for what looks inevitable to me, and it's frightening, don't get me wrong. Shame on us. We have a situation in this country I don't believe we've ever faced before. We have Marxists within, operating through the Democrat Party and their appendages and surrogates, destroying our country, literally. Destroying our economy, literally. Destroying our prosperity and our strength. That's all crucially important if we're going to be able to build up a military and sustain it. And of course, we are facing communists in our own hemisphere, in Southeast Asia, as well as fascists, as well as Islamo-Nazis in Tehran, all of whom have gotten together. We've seen a similar script before. The Battle of Ukraine is the beginning. I want you to listen to me. The Battle of Ukraine is the beginning, not the end. It's like the Sudetenland, and I'm serious about this. Oh, don't you know, the eastern part of Ukraine, they speak Russian over there, and let them go. What's it any of our business all the way over here? I don't know. Why is China concerned about it? Why is China interested in what happens to Russia? I'm just curious. Why is Iran providing Russia with deadly drones? What's that all about? Why does Iran care? They have enough problems of their own. What's that all about? It's the access. You have propagandists in our own country who are either too stupid or too driven by their ideology to see the truth. But their names are in public, whether they be politicians, whether they've written columns, and history will judge them, and I will judge them. Because they're endangering the United States. Egypt secretly planned to supply rockets to Russia, leaked documents say. Egypt was an ally too, not too long ago. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, in February, planned to produce 40,000 rockets for Russia and instructed officials to keep production and shipment secret to avoid problems with the West. The Washington Compost. He's one of our closest allies in the Middle East. He's a recipient of billions of dollars in aid from us. Portion of a top-secret memo, this one that was leaked, summarizes purported conversations between Sisi and senior Egyptian military officials. Washington Post obtained the document from a trove of images of classified files posted in February and March on Discord, a chat app popular with gamers. The document has not been previously reported. The disclosure comes as Russia's fighting away, with Ukraine. Now, one other thing. Do you think intelligence agencies among our allies, you think they're going to want to share information with the United States now, Mr. Producer? No. No, they're not. Responses to questions regarding the document and the veracity of the conversations it describes, Ambassador Ahmed, spokesman for Egypt's foreign ministry, said that Egypt's position from the beginning is based on non-involvement in this crisis and committing to maintain an equal distance with both sides while affirming Egypt's support to the UN Charter and international law. In other words, he gave doublespeak in two languages. Doublespeak in two languages. So far, Egypt has not done that. But apparently that was their plan. So the Middle East alliances and peace initiatives that the Trump administration had successfully promoted and built have all but been destroyed by Mr. Globalism, by Mr. 50 years of experience, by Mr. We're back. Yeah, like a bad bleeding hemorrhoid or a thigh rash for you leftists. They're back. Yes, they're back into destroying America. Here's Lloyd Austin today. You may have heard of him. He's the Secretary of Defense. Of whose country, I'm not sure. Cut 2, go.
I was first briefed on the reports of unauthorized disclosure of sensitive and classified material on the morning of April 6th. And since then, I've been convening senior department leaders daily on our response.
Oh, good. You're having meetings. That's really cool. He's having meetings to figure out their response. Here's a response. One meeting. Men, well, whatever. Whoever's in the room, you find this bastard or these bastards. We're going to bring them up on treason charges and we're going to have them executed. You do anything you have to do to find them. Pretend they're parents at a school board meeting. Pretend they're protesters at an abortion clinic. Most of all, pretend that they're trespassers on January 6th. Put all of our resources, no holds bar, and find him, or them, her, it, whatever. And find them in 48 hours. If you must talk to the Stasi across the street at the Department of Justice, do it. I don't care who you have to talk to. You need to deal with the phone companies, deal with them. You need to deal with the social platform companies, you know, we've infiltrated them, you know how to deal with them. Do whatever you have to do. But get him or them. Because we're going to put an end to this right now. Well, we've been having meetings, you see. We're having meetings here. Go ahead, Mr. Producer.
An urgent cross-department effort. And we've referred the matter to the Department of Justice, which has opened a criminal investigation. Now, I can't say much more while the Justice Department's investigation is ongoing, but we take this very seriously. And we will continue to work closely with our outstanding allies and partners, and nothing will ever stop us from keeping America secure.
Well, you just did stop us. And, look, we're dealing here with a bunch of politicized boobs. A bunch of politicized boobs. I wonder if the Department of Injustice even has enough FBI agents to thoroughly look into this, given their focus on American citizens. On a 62-year-old grandfather who may have been January 6th, parading on the grounds of the Capitol, and they caught his face. They got his face. Get him. Send the SWAT teams. By the way, you know what's interesting, just from an analytical point of view on these mass murders lately? They're Trump haters. The Louisville killer was a Trump hater. I suspect the Nashville killer was a Trump hater. How come they don't talk about that? The mass killer in the synagogue slaughtering Jews in Pittsburgh was a Trump hater. No, we can't talk. No, let's talk about it. The things that are said by the left, whether they're in the media, whether they're politicians, whether they're in the government, whether they're in entertainment, the things they say are beyond the pale. They're beyond the pale. And they take no responsibility for it. None. None. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Let me ask you, what the heck is going on with the banks? These bank failures are absolutely nuts. How are we supposed to find sanity in this mess? And I was talking with Augusta Precious Metals, and they said tons of people are buying gold to protect their retirement savings right now. I think it's more important than ever to own gold. And guess what? If you have $100,000 plus saved for retirement, Augusta will actually pay you in pure gold to learn how gold IRAs can protect you. Reach out to Augusta Precious Metals today and get started with gold. If you're worried about the bank failures, this is something you can do for yourself. Just call 877-4-GOLD-IRA to learn how to protect your retirement and get your free gold coin. That's Augusta Precious Metals at 877-4-GOLD-IRA. Again, 877-4-GOLD-IRA. Consult your financial professionals before any investment and see risk disclosures at AugustaPreciousMetals.com. Ladies and gentlemen, more next hour, but I want to explain to you what happens when we're in a war situation. Particularly a war situation not of our choosing, where we're on our heels when such a war breaks out. Right now, people don't recognize it, but that's what's taking place here. China is threatening us directly as its alliance with Russia, and the Russians are well on the attack in Ukraine. Not even the Axis powers in World War II threatened America while they were invading other countries. This is more brazen than that. And in our own country, the hollowing out of the fabric of the country at the same time by the Democrat Party. We're going to talk about what happens when the ruling class in Washington, D.C., which has been attacked for being militaristic, and I'm attacking them for closing their eyes to what's actually taking place and growing out there. I want to tell you what happens to your constitutional rights, to your economic rights, and to your way of life. World War II began in 1941. It was 81 short years ago. At the end of this year, it'll be 82 short years ago. That's not a long time ago. That's not a long time ago at all. I want to discuss this with you because it's important. I don't know what everybody else is talking about, and I don't much give a damn. You know what Woodrow Wilson did during World War I? He and his supporters passed something called the Espionage Act in 1917. In 1918, they called something called the Sedition Act. They passed that. Both of those laws were used to round them up, over 1,000 individuals and charge them with violations of one law or the other. Debs. Ever hear of Debs? D-E-B-B-S, Mr. Producer? Debs was a communist. He was a labor activist. He was a nominee to run for president by, I guess it was the Socialist Party. And he ran for president while in prison, put there by Woodrow Wilson. They also had a major censorship campaign. One of the men who really wrote the book on propaganda, actually wrote a book called Propaganda, was giving advice to Woodrow Wilson on how to persuade the American people, and they used it on the media. They bought media. All kinds of civil liberties were violated, just like today. World War II, FDR was even worse with the IRS and the FBI. Don't we have an IRS and FBI problem today? I want to expand on this when I return. I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. First, let me tell you how this is going to work. You know, I often think maybe I should have written a book about what I'm about to tell you, but nonetheless, Michael Pillsbury urged me to do it, but I'm working on something that I think is actually more fundamental and, of course, crucially important. What the Communist Chinese are doing is they are positioning themselves throughout the world, economically and especially militarily, to box in the United States, to box in our fleet at the Panama Canal, to box in our access to the Pacific, and then eventually to box us in on the East Coast, particularly Norfolk and other areas where our nuclear subs are typically based there in San Diego. They have the balloon floating around so that you get a good feel about how we communicate among our nuclear sites. And they gobbled up a great deal of information. They're not doing that for the hell of it. They're doing it for a reason. They're looking at our country in terms of conventional weaponry, as well as nuclear weaponry, as well as satellite weaponry. But the geopolitical issue, you can see what's taking place in terms of our own hemisphere. Our own hemisphere. In terms of our ability of our Navy to move out from the coasts, or to return to the coasts. They know that we are a nation that is essentially surrounded by two oceans. I'm well aware of a northern and southern border, but that's not what I'm talking about. That's why they've built the biggest naval fleet on the face of the earth, and they're still building. That's why they're getting naval posts in our own hemisphere, whether they're communist nations, as well as poor nations in Africa, and poor Caribbean nations, and poor Pacific Island nations. Whereas we're cutting off foreign aid, they are expending enormous sums of money on foreign aid to buy the loyalty, and even more to buy the economies of these countries. We don't use foreign aid in a smart way. We just give it away. They're like a slum landlord in a way. They want collateral. And they're getting it. All through Africa, all through Central and South America, all through the Middle East. The South China Sea, they want the ability to be able to cut off trade to the United States. They want the ability to be able to cut off navigable lanes, ocean lanes, to and from the United States. They're building toward that right now at breakneck speed. They want the ability to take our eyes and ears out of space with killer satellites. They're way ahead of us. This is why Donald Trump created the Space Force. He was opposed and he was right. In terms of hypersonic missiles, they're many years ahead of us. They stole the original technology from us, and now they're way ahead of us. The Navy just gave up on its hypersonic missile, and it has to start over. It's not working. And they see the psychology in the United States. They see the pacifist, isolationist Republicans. And on the Democrat side, they see the Marxist movement that is undermining our military and military preparedness. Now's the time for them to act. They know this. And Ukraine, as I said, the first battle in this war. World War III that has begun. You don't have to wait for massive military operations against the United States for a war to begin. It's begun. China has sewed up its oil needs with Saudi Arabia and Iran. That's what it's done. China has sewed up its needs for all kinds of minerals and material in the Congo, other parts of Africa, in Afghanistan. They're on the move. They're preparing, and they're on the move. They want to control the world currency. so they can harm our banks and our financial institutions. They see the weakness in Europe. Always starts with France, and there she is. France. And the biggest country in our own hemisphere, Brazil, has now thrown in with the communist Chinese. It's going to get worse. Nicaragua's thrown in with the communist Chinese. Cuba's thrown in with the communist Chinese. Bolivia's thrown in with the communist Chinese. I don't need any secret documents to figure this out. I've been talking about this for a very long time. So what are they going to do with all this power? They're going to extort us. Because they know there are elements in the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, more than elements, the entire mindset, to avoid conflict of all costs, at all costs. That many people would rather live as slaves and unfree than defend their country. Particularly when you're undermining the belief in the country, period. Reagan made this point in 1964. They want to be in a position to extort us economically and militarily, so that when our Joint Chiefs of Staff meet with a President of the United States, they will lay out the options, and the options will be thin. They'll be few against an overpowering enemy. That we can't push back on the bases that they have. There's too many of them. That they have weapons that are at least comparable to ours or stronger. But more than that, they control their press such as it is. They control their legislatures such as it is. The decisions will be made by a Mao-like figure, just as it would be made like a Stalin-like figure, a Hitler-like figure, a Tojo-like figure, a Mussolini-like figure, and they make decisions quickly. You see, we cannot afford to be the number 2 superpower on the face of the earth, because if we're the number 2, we're going to lose the geographic, the economic, and military war. Because China is not going to sit still as the most powerful country on the face of the earth, and intends to exercise its power. The United States never did that, despite what the pacifist isolationists on the Republican side and the Democrat Party say. The United States has never been a warmonger power. This is why all this talk about long wars and short wars, it's irrelevant. We're talking about the wrong thing. Foreign policy, like most of life, is about prudence. Looking at what's taking place in front of your eyes, rationally digesting it intellectually, and making determinations based on that, not some ideology. Every battle's not Afghanistan. Every battle's not Ukraine. Every battle's not Iwo Jima. On the other hand, wishing things away and blaming ourselves for the evil that we face is absurd. Failing to prepare for what we see is unconscionable and will lead to a draft and will lead to a war, unless, of course, we surrender. I don't mean formal surrender documents. China says, we control the South China Sea. Don't come through here. Okay. China says, we control the Panama Canal. We'll decide who comes through here. What are you going to do about it? Okay. And on and on and on. China is now dictating who can see the president of Taiwan. Literally threatening speakers, plural, of the House, of both parties. China's threatening the Seventh Fleet as I speak right now with their carriers in the Taiwan Straits. They're threatening right now. We sent a modern equivalent of a destroyer through there. They got carriers there. It's right off the coast of China. Xi is doing a good job of splitting up the European alliance with France because he knows France is the weak link, always has been and always will be. But it's even worse. Macron goes further, talking about American currency. We need to decouple from the United States, not just over Ukraine, not just over Taiwan, but over everything. How many of you have family members that died? That died in France, trying to free the French from the Nazis and their Vichy government. D-Day. We celebrate D-Day. France has already surrendered to Communist China. The Solomon Islands, Guadalcanal, has already surrendered to Communist China. And this is why I spend all this time talking about it, today and every day, on Fox, on Levin TV, wherever I can, however I can. But the situation is even worse. It's more focused in my mind than ever before. World War III has begun. It's begun economically, geographically, and militarily with the Battle of Ukraine. Now at home, what can we expect? Well, we know what we can expect from past world wars, and we know what we can expect from the pandemic, don't we? Private property will cease to be private property, and this will get the support of the courts, too. The courts will fold like cheap beach chairs. We've already seen that during the pandemic. Free speech, as it is right now. Free speech right now. We have less of it than any time in my lifetime. Well, we're going to have a hell of a lot less of it in the years ahead. Criticizing the government. The FBI is already poised to monitor what you say, whether it's in the Catholic churches or online. They're poised to do the work, and they've had practice. The media in America is basically an American providence. It's a media of the government for the government. Unless, of course, the government is run by a Republican. Then it's a media of the Democrat Party and the bureaucracy. One and the same. One and the same. So we're going to have big problems with police state Marxism. And we're going to have the fifth column in America. You can Google that, see what that means. Many of you know. We will have the people in the United States rooting for the enemy. I can see AOC. Yeah, I'll name names. I can see Tlaib. I can see Omar. And many, many, many more rooting for the enemy. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Don't fall for the free phone deals from Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, folks. Just another trick to lock you into a long-term contract that's going to cost you a fortune every single month. Instead, get a brand new iPhone 12 from Pure Talk for just $12 a month at 0% interest, no contract. Cancel or leave anytime. Get a new iPhone, ultra-fast 5G service, and cut your cell phone bill in half. That's why I'm a Pure Talk customer. That's why you should be too. You can switch right now at puretalk.com in as little as 10 minutes. Choose from a variety of unlimited talk and text plans starting at $30 a month with plenty of high-speed data, all backed by a 100% money-back guarantee. Go to puretalk.com, enter promo code Levin Podcast, Levin Podcast, and you'll save 50% off your first month. An iPhone 12 for $12 a month and save on your monthly bill. puretalk.com, promo code Levin Podcast. Restrictions apply. You can see the site for details. Look, folks, you know what's funny? When I was a little kid, I think they gave us an IQ test. I remember seeing this. And, I did okay and everything, but in reasoning, this is a long time ago, elementary school, I had like a 98% in the top percentile. I look at things and I'm realistic about what's taking place. I reason through them. I'm not an ideologue when it comes to foreign policy. I'm not John McCain. I'm not Lindsey Graham. On the other hand, I'm not one of these pacifists and isolationists. I look at the situation. I apply experience and history. There are reasons why countries do things. There's reasons why people do things, unless they're nuts. And if they're nuts, more reason to be concerned. There's a reason Communist China's doing all this. So we can sit still and become sitting ducks. And yet I still hear from the pacifist isolation and wing of the Republican Party, why do we have so many bases abroad? Well, why don't we just give them to the Communist Chinese? Why do they have so many bases, and why are they adding so many bases? You think they're stupid? Why are they doing that? Does anybody know why? Yeah, I know why. And so do you. And so do you. And I don't think we're ready. I think our politicians are asleep at the wheel. I think our politicians fear certain opinion makers. I think our politicians are gutless wonders. And they'll just pass it on to the next politician. But there will be a great man or a great woman somewhere along the line, we better pray, who will go against the tide and who will say, wait a minute, I think we have a problem. I'll be right back. Don't fall for the free phone deals from Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, folks. Just another trick to lock you into a long-term contract that's going to cost you a fortune every single month. Instead, get a brand new iPhone 12 from Pure Talk for just $12 a month at 0% interest, no contract. Cancel or leave anytime. Get a new iPhone, ultra-fast 5G service, and cut your cell phone bill in half. That's why I'm a Pure Talk customer. That's why you should be too. You can switch right now at puretalk.com in as little as 10 minutes. Choose from a variety of unlimited talk and text plans starting at $30 a month with plenty of high-speed data, all backed by a 100% money-back guarantee. Go to puretalk.com, enter promo code Levin Podcast, Levin Podcast, and you'll save 50% off your first month. An iPhone 12 for $12 a month and save on your monthly bill. puretalk.com, promo code Levin Podcast. Restrictions apply. You can see the site for details.
Mark Levin, the thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
I was talking earlier about the kind of vitriol and poison that is spread by the left, particularly the left in the media. And they're never called to account. These corporations that own these media platforms, Comcast owns NBC and MSNBC. Over at MSNBC, even more than CNN, I'm shocked to say, you have the most vile, poisonous lineup of reprobates, miscreants, and malcontents that a network in America has ever pulled together. It's like, get me the lowest lowlives you possibly can off the street. You know, people like Joe Scarborough and Al Sharpton and, oh, so many. Nicole Wallace, there's another one. And, of course, Joy Reid. Joy Reid came to this job with homophobic posts, bigoted posts on the internet. She said that her system was corrupted. Problem is, she's a liar. Her system wasn't corrupted. Was it, Joy? But she's muscled past that because she's so profound and intelligent and important that Comcast gave her a primetime job at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. where our friend Jesse Waters destroys her every single night. But no matter, she has a very important message, and here it is. Hat tip newsbusters, cut 4, go.
You have Republicans in multiple states, including Florida, passing and pushing laws that will allow people to hit Black Lives Matter protesters or any protesters they like with their cars. And this was after the Charlottesville murder by car of a white woman who was a Black Lives Matter protester.
Let's just wait. Did I miss something, Mr. Producer, that the states are passing laws saying you can run over protesters? Wow. Did you folks know that? Republicans are pushing laws and passing laws that say you can run over protesters, especially Black Lives Matter protesters. And yet we saw what took place in Kennesaw, Wisconsin, where an activist ran over a white band, I think it was. Joy's memory is very short. Did I mention that? And very selective. I forgot. That's another thing on her resume. That's why they hired her. But listen to her cancerous poison. You would think she was on The View, for crying out loud. Go ahead.
Seem to have, gotten back into lynching, hanging, all sorts of other sort of draconian 19th century fare. What is going on with Republicans that they seem to be bringing back the lynching vibe? And nobody says a word about this. She should be fired on the spot. She should get the hook. Her ass should be kicked out of MSNBC. And she can spew that crap on a soapbox in the corner somewhere. Out in some park. This is a bigot through and through. Lynching is back? Joy, why don't you explain to your minuscule and yet dwindling audience who the party of lynching is? Are you a Democrat, Joy? Because it's your party. You always defend Biden. Did you know Biden was a racist segregationist who opposed integration of public schools? Of course you do, but you don't care. Do you know the Democrat Party push eugenics? And their intellectuals, the progressive so-called push eugenics? Woodrow Wilson and so forth? Yes, the Democrat Party, including but especially against blacks. Amazing. Planned Parenthood, the founder of Planned Parenthood. Margaret Sanger, big eugenicist, particularly when it applied to blacks. And she even spoke to the Klan. She became so popular with the Klan. Have you ever explained that on your crap nothing little show, Joy? With your hate speech? Joy, why don't you explain to your 7 listeners that bill after bill came before Franklin Roosevelt and he opposed signing an anti-lynching bill? Why don't you tell your listeners that, Joy? If you want to talk about lynching. Even Eleanor tried to persuade
FDR. I believe Eleanor supported LGBTQ plus long before anybody else, Mr. Producer. Did you know that? I believe she did. But neither here nor there. That said, the Democrats supported lynching. The Democrat Party would not oppose lynching until finally the it was Harry Truman. After the death of FDR, who signed a federal law against lynching. They weren't blocked by Republicans. Republicans supported it. But now Republicans are lynching. 19th century fair, she says. What's going on with Republicans that seem to be bringing back the lynching vibe? And why is that? It's because the governor of Texas saw what a left-wing prosecutor, another one, in Austin, Texas, did to a man who was defending himself in his car when he was surrounded by a mob, including a Black Lives Matter violent mob. And one of the men was carrying a rifle. Remember, we're not supposed to like rifles. A rifle came up to the driver's side of his car at the window, and the driver shot him because he feared for his life. The mob surrounded his car, and here's a guy with a rifle. And by the way, a white guy. Lynching? A white guy. Shot a white guy. But it doesn't matter. We got the narrative down. We got it. And so Governor Abbott says, I'm going to pardon him should the pardon board make the proper recommendation. And Joy Reid sees an opportunity to talk about the vibe of lynching. It's a vibe of lynching out there. I wonder if she even knew who was actually involved in this. And the man who was convicted served in the United States military, honorably. I believe he's a cop or a former cop. But it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Joy Reid is decided guilty. That's the one guy with a rifle that they defend. It's the one guy with a rifle they defend. They don't say, how come that guy had a rifle? What was he doing there? If we had gun control, none of this would have happened. No, they don't say that in this case. Why is that? Because they're a-holes. That's why. Because they're frauds, phonies, hypocrites. That's why. It's that simple. Meanwhile, the executives, the board of directors over there at Comstock don't have a problem, at Comcast rather, don't have a problem with any of this. Perfectly fine. Comcast, your cable network, many of you. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Don't fall for the free phone deals from Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, folks. Just another trick to lock you into a long-term contract that's going to cost you a fortune every single month. Instead, get a brand new iPhone 12 from Pure Talk for just $12 a month at 0% interest, no contract. Cancel or leave anytime. Get a new iPhone, ultra-fast 5G service, and cut your cell phone bill in half. That's why I'm a Pure Talk customer. That's why you should be too. You can switch right now at puretalk.com in as little as 10 minutes. Choose from a variety of unlimited talk and text plans starting at $30 a month with plenty of high-speed data, all backed by a 100% money-back guarantee. Go to puretalk.com, enter promo code Levin Podcast, Levin Podcast, and you'll save 50% off your first month. An iPhone 12 for $12 a month and save on your monthly bill. puretalk.com, promo code Levin Podcast. Restrictions apply. You can see the site for details. All right, let's see here. I want you to hear this one now, too. Jim Psaki. Is Jen Psaki a journalist? I'm just curious. Well, she thinks she is. She's at the Semaphore Media Summit. What the hell is that? The Semaphore Media Summit. How come I wasn't invited? How come I wasn't invited to the Semaphore Media Summit? Well, we know why. They hate me and the feeling's mutual. Here she is. Yesterday. Cut 9, go.
I mean, do you consider yourself a journalist?
I do. Because how do you define being a journalist? Now I'm going to ask you this question.
That is a great question. I define modern journalists as card-carrying members of the Democrat Party who hate America and get wealthy spewing stupid things and their hate America propaganda, who root for the enemy and who lie about their country. Do I have that about right? I think I do, Mr. Producer. Go ahead, please.
I was once told it was an out-of-work newspaper man. Well, but, you know.
Well, here's how I think about it.
This guy's funny. I think he's going to be starting in Las Vegas and opening Lounge Act. Go ahead.
First of all, journalism has changed dramatically. Semaphore is an example of that, right? And even when I was in the White House working in government, it really was already all on a spectrum. It wasn't just the New York Times, Washington Post, ABC News, and then everything else wasn't considered part of journalism. It's all a big, broad scope of things. And so, to me, journalism is
You're doing a great job defining it there, Psaki, I must say, so far. You're just unbelievable. I wonder if the Joe Biden idiocy has rubbed off on her. I think it has. Like the current press secretary is a certifiable moron. Then you have Kirby up there who talks in tongues. All right, go ahead.
Information to the public, helping make things clear, explaining things, having conversations with people want to learn more about. And so I think there is a broad expansion of what that is.
You said absolutely nothing. Her definition. It's all this big, broad scope of things. Oh, that's helpful. And so to me, journalism is providing information to the public, helping make things clear. Even here, she doesn't make things clear. Explaining things, having conversations with people. So in other words, a mealy-mouth who says nothing, still having a conversation with people, people want to learn more about it. And so I think there is a broad expansion of what that is. Okay, my definition is better and more accurate. A left-wing crackpot Marxist big mouth with a low IQ who's pushing an agenda. That's a modern-day journalist. Not all, of course, but most. Ever hear of Chris Licht? L-I-C-H-T. Chris apparently was licked. I don't even know what that means. He's the boss over at CNN. Doing a fantastic job killing CNN. I don't know. Is Fox paying the guy? Cut 10, go.
Half the headlines are about our friend Don Lemon, who is here. And when I write about Don Lemon, it gets traffic. What do you make of Don's sort of outsized presence in the coverage of CNN and the buzz about CNN? How do you navigate?
Well, let me answer that for Chris Licht. Don is another certifiable idiot. And so we aim for the idiot demo. That's all that's left of it. So we go for the idiot demo. We don't care if they're old or young or in between. And Don is the guy for the idiot demo. So that's why he draws their attention. That's why 24/7 they're on the internet typing away. Don's our guy. When we need hits, especially from idiots, Sour Don Lemon, that's our guy. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. Our all-powerful and important Hour 3. Flirting with extending the show to a fourth hour, particularly in New York. You never know. We're going to have great guests Sunday in a very, very important topic. I'm going to have Alan Dershowitz on for half the show, and Matt Whitaker, former acting attorney general, for the other half of the show. We're going to discuss freedom of speech. We're going to discuss the First Amendment. You know, this Dominion lawsuit goes forward next week. We may not get into the particulars of that case, but we will get into the particulars of corporations, of government, of other efforts to censor media, including Fox. So I'll take up the gauntlet. I'll take it up with additional free speech lawyers. Nobody better than Dershowitz, except me, of course. And then Matt Whitaker, former acting attorney general. And we're going to dig into this. New York versus Sullivan. What's that? You're going to hear all about it. So the left and their media, they don't believe in free speech. They don't believe in a free media. They claim they do, but they clearly don't. They are celebrating, promoting, and insisting on the defeat of Fox News the way they have on conservative talk radio. Most of these entities, like Media Matters, like Mediaite, are funded with big donors, with big pockets. And they don't make their donors known. I would encourage Media Matters, put out your big donor list. Mediaite, put out your big donor list. And by the way, Mediaite is sort of a knockoff of Media Matters. If I were Media Matters, I'd be pissed off and I'd sue Mediaite for plagiarism. That's what I would do. But they never pull back the curtain. We don't get the text messages and the emails out of Mediaite and all the prepubescents that write there. We don't get the emails and the text messages from Media Matters and all their communications with Democrats and leftists and Soros operatives and all the rest. We don't get the text messages and emails of Maggot Haberman or Jeremy and his Peters or Phil and his Bumps. We don't get any of that information. Isn't it amazing? And yet we have a judge in Delaware, a trial judge, the lowest level, who gives out discovery like, well, like Hunter Biden takes, I better not say that. But you get the point. Here is a local, lowest level trial judge. These are all my own opinions. I haven't discussed them with anybody. Never do. Don't get permission. Don't get told not to. I do what I want to do. Speak for myself. And so we're going to look into this sort of thing and talk about this sort of thing because there's no reason why I should sit quietly about this. No reason why I should ignore the war on the First Amendment. Now, Alan Dershowitz has written a lot of books. Most of them are relatively small, but they're good. And he wrote a book a couple of years back called The Case Against the New Censorship. I actually ordered this on Amazon and read it. It's a damn good book. Protecting Free Speech from Big Tech, Progressives, and Universities. You can say what you will about Alan Dershowitz. He's a Democrat and so forth. But the fact is, the man is consistent. If he believes somebody is violating a fundamental civil liberty, whether Republican, Democrat, whomever it is, he calls them out. So I'm going to have my opening statement. We're going to have Alan Dershowitz there. We're going to talk about this sort of thing. We're going to have the former acting attorney general there, too. We're going to talk about this sort of thing, and he knows all about it, too. Because I don't think the entire playing field of knowledge and information should be left to Mediaite and Media Matters. I don't think it should be left to the New York Times and the Washington Post and their analysts. I don't think it should be left to the crap news network. That's what we're calling it for now on, Mr. Producer. Not the constipated. That's too good. The crap news network and, of course, MSLSD. Wouldn't it be great to get all the texts and emails, Mr. Producer, between the morning schmo and the missus? Or Al Sharpton and anybody? Or how about Joy Reid? Oh, I bet hers are a doozy. You see, you sue them, but you got to sue them in a place and in a court that's going to have very wide latitude on discovery. And then the lawyers can be filing all kinds of motions and briefs and put as much information in there as they can to try and embarrass people, you see. That's the goal. I want to talk about this. And should a network or a newscast or a host or a program be able to talk about what's being said about an election? If not, then what are the parameters? If that's not an attack on free speech, then what the hell is? So we're going to get into this. It's going to be a really big show. Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. If you can't watch it, please do what I always encourage you to do. Even now, just set your DVR for 8 p.m. Eastern or 5 p.m. Pacific or however the hell it works and record the program so you can have it and watch it. Or watch it live, which makes it much easier, I suppose. Now, CNN hates me and hates my show. It's true. The crap news network hates me and hates my show. Again, the feeling's mutual. So they're going to throw up their biggest host, and throw up is the right word. They're going to throw up their biggest host against me on Sunday night, ladies and gentlemen. Anderson Cooper. They took him off 60 Minutes, and they decided CNN was going to start its own magazine program. Because, you see, CNN does things that are unique and rare and interesting. Like copy what 60 Minutes has done. So anyway, Anderson Cooper's biggest interview in his entire career, you might remember this, Mr. Producer, was Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels. I remember that interview, don't you, Mr. Producer? There were 3 boobs right there. May I say, with all due respect. He got the clutch interview, boy. Everybody's trying to get the Stormy Daniels interview. But Anderson Cooper got the interview. Good job, Andy. May I call you Andy? I think I will call you Andy. Is that your nickname? No? Well, I don't much care. So he'll be on Sunday night against me. I think I messed up. It's not this Sunday. It's the following Sunday. When's the 16th, Mr. Producer? It is this Sunday. I'm sorry. Calendar got away from me. Come back here, calendar. But anyway, you get the point. But regardless of who's on CNN, we never care who's on CNN. We never care who's on MSNBC. Any more than we care what's going on in sonograms around the country or airport radar. Because that's the next step. Once you work for CNN and you failed, much like Chris Wallace, the next banana peel for Chris Wallace is to be on sonograms. Did you know this, Mr. Producer? So in every gynecologist's office, they can watch Chris Wallace. It's true. Or airport radar. Airport radar, you know, Chris Christie fails on ABC this week. He'll never fail. They'll prop him up no matter what. They want him there to be the a-hole that he is. But he'll be on airport radar like the Hindenburg. What is that? Is that another communist Chinese blimp? No. The former governor of New Jersey. Oh. Not sure which is more dangerous, quite frankly. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Many of you are probably wondering, Mark, I thought you went to Mar-a-Lago and you did an interview with Donald Trump. And then you left Mar-a-Lago. You were invited to dinner. And then this indictment nonsense came down, and then you went back. That's all true. And that interview will air, not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. And I expect part 2 of that interview to air the Sunday after that. And what makes this interview very unique, and President Trump really enjoyed it, he says, I let him speak. And in addition to that, the interview is going to be tied to these letters in this book that he has developed with individuals such as Nixon, Reagan, Oprah Winfrey, Alec Baldwin. And what I did in this interview and what he did is I interlaced the letters with subjects. So in other words, when we talked about a letter, it would bring up some event in his life or something that's going on today that he would expand on. So it does involve current events. It also involves things that took place earlier in his life. And you'll be shocked at some of these letters and some of the people who wrote them slobbering all over him. And they've asked me to be the first exclusive interview for the book, so I did it. And I think this book, Letters to Trump, is going to be a big hit because it's actually quite compelling and intriguing. And it's a beautiful book. And you'll see these letters from people during much of his career. And also, at the very end, there'll be a surprise letter with a surprise picture. So that will air, I guess that would be April 23rd. And his book comes out April 25th. But it's a serious interview. It is done differently than any interview he's ever had. It's been done differently than any interview I've ever conducted. So I don't just sit there and, what about Russia? What about that? What about... These things will come up, and they'll come up in ways the president wants to bring them up. And I have found when I do these interviews, like on my Life, Liberty, and Levin program or Levin TV, I have guests for a reason. And if I let them speak, you learn a whole lot, substantively and about them. And the same with President Trump. So I'm not there to just pummel him with my ideology, to push a controversy between him and, say, Governor DeSantis or somebody else. No, that's not what I do. That's not the purpose of any of this. The purpose is for you to be informed. What is it that Jen Psaki said? Hey, you can get information. That's what she's all about. That's what she's always been about. Of course. Yes. What do you think about inflation right now? Is it affecting any of you? Infecting, too. What do you think about it? Is it making times tough? How's your business going? Businesses are not doing great right now. How about your finances? How about your pension? Your Social Security? Across the board, inflation hits everybody. And the more you rely on a check, the more it affects you. You understand what I mean? The more you rely on Social Security or a pension check, the more it affects you. Janet Yellen is the supposed Treasury Secretary, and she was at a Treasury Department press event today. I think it's very, very important that you hear how the Biden administration and the flunkies think the economy is doing, okay? Cut 13, go.
Commodity prices have eased.
And by the way, don't fall asleep during this. I can understand if you do. She makes Forrest Gump look like Einstein. Go ahead.
Snarls are being resolved. The global financial system has generally proven quite resilient. As I mentioned, the United States is doing extremely well economically, with inflation coming down and a strong labor market, and Europe is doing better than was feared at the time of our last meeting. So I wouldn't overdo the negativism about the global economy. I think countries have proven resilient.
Resilient. You hear what she says? Commodity prices are easing. Supply chain snarls are being resolved. Global financial system. The Chinese are stealing our currency position in the world. We've destroyed energy independence. The value of the dollar has gone down. The value of your paycheck has gone down. The value of your pension check has gone down. The cost of food has gone up. The cost of electricity and oil and gasoline have all gone up. The cost of commodities haven't eased. The cost of commodities are through the roof. A used car, a new car, any car. Unaffordable to a lot of people. Going to get worse when they force you to buy electric vehicles and wait in line 3 hours to get the damn thing charged. But everything is fine. Don't be Mr. Negativism. Negativism, yes. Everything is great, the negativity. Why are you so negative? I've been on a government payroll much of my life. Money's flowing in as always. There's no problem. I can afford everything, can't you? Just because you're a blue-collar worker and have dirt under your nails, you should be thankful for all the things we're doing here in the Biden administration on your behalf. Is everybody a moron in this administration? Answer yes. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin, radio's principal patriot. Call in now at 877-381-3811.
Mr. Producer, not to throw you a screwball, but let's go to some callers, shall we? To whom shall I speak, sir? Yes. Sirius Satellite, Robert, Central Valley, California. Robert, Central Valley, California, isn't where they grow all the garlic there? Like Gilroy? Do I have that about right, or are you further north or so? Huh?
It's further inland. Gilroy is kind of the southern part of the Bay Area, and I'm more where Fresno, Merced, and
yes. That's kind of McCarthy's area. Yes.
Yeah, it is. You know, I was just driving back from the Central Coast, and Mark, I wish you could have seen it today. All the wildflowers are blooming on these really green hills from the recent rains.
Yes. Beautiful.
I mean, we just live in a great country. I mean, it's just it takes your breath away.
No. You are looking at flowers. We live in a great country with a lousy government right now.
Oh my God! And the state I'm in, the only good thing I can say about our state legislators, they make the people in Washington look like geniuses, and that's an accomplishment. I mean, that's a tough one.
What do you make about Newsom? I mean, you got crime through the roof. You look at even the Market Street in San Francisco, which was the street in the United States. Union Square, just fantastic. People are getting killed there now. It's not just in other neighborhoods. It's there, right there in the middle of one of the most fantastic, what was one of the most fantastic cities. It's Pelosi territory. It's news. And he's going to campaign in Mississippi. He goes into Florida to tell DeSantis what to do. I mean, the whole damn state is falling apart. And this fool, this clown, he's traveling the country into red states telling them how to conduct themselves. What do you think of that?
Well, it's amazing. I worked in San Francisco for 8 years, and I've been in the Valley for going on 2.5 decades now. But I do not miss the Bay Area in part for that reason at all. And I think it's pretty obvious when I say I agree with you what I think of him. I mean, this guy's just a pure politician, not in the best sense of the word, but in the worst sense of the word. And he fits right into the mold of his close relatives. It's awful. Anyway, the reason I wanted to phone, I wanted to talk about, if you wouldn't mind, about the first hour and a half or so, and just stress the importance of your point of view, which I completely agree with. I hope to God that you're wrong, but I strongly fear, like in most things, that you're probably right about this. And it was basically about, people hadn't heard it, about China's trajectory of dominance with the U.S., in the way, and not just the U.S., but our values in the U.S., our values of liberty, of freedom, of self-determination, of all the things that. I'm a long-time listener, by the way, and I know these things well. By the time I did phone you once during Obama's administration. I couldn't help myself. We were listening to Obama talk about the horrors of climate change, and he was talking from Yosemite, which was created by climate change. The irony of it was too thick not to comment on at the time.
That is hilarious.
But I'm a long-term, not only listener, but a long-term admirer of yours. I actually drove down 3 hours.
Okay, we're going to run out of time. How may I help you? But I do appreciate the accolades. Trust me.
I already made my point, and I thank you so much for your work. And just keep it up. And I'm doing work on my end to make the right things happen.
God bless you. And thank you, buddy. Very kind of you. All right, Mr. Producer, do we have any irregular Americans? The WMAL app, Ted from Palm Bay, Florida. Ted, how you doing?
Okay, sir. How you doing?
I'm okay. Thank you.
My question to you is...
a little bit louder, Ted. Right into the mouthpiece. A little louder.
I lost my child in 2021 to fentanyl.
You lost what?
And I want to...
Hold on.
I lost my child.
Oh, my God.
In 2021 to fentanyl.
How old was your child?
31.
31.
You probably knew him. He was from Richfield Park, New Jersey.
Let me ask you something, Ted. How did this happen?
Yes. Well, we moved, and somebody sold him something bad, and now.
So he thought it was a different drug?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And he was in Miami, and now I'm going through the process, and Miami-Dade, they have liberal district attorneys, and we're fighting to get the charges brought against the person that sold it to him, which we know who it was.
Oh, Lord. So now you have to fight like this. It's so horrendous.
Yes. My question to you is...
Yes, sir.
How can me and many other families that have gone through this hold the Biden administration accountable for the drugs that poured in through the border?
Legally, unfortunately, there's no way, because the court doesn't give you standing to sue the Biden administration over policies. And, of course, the president is immune himself as he goes around with that stupid smile on his face. I think you've got to look at this in terms of an election, I'm sorry to say, to rally as many people as you can, because we need to shut the damn border. We need to secure the border. The communist Chinese are providing the material to the drug cartels, and they're killing your son and other people with this absolutely suicide. I mean, this drug works so fast and is so lethal. We've never seen anything like this. And may I ask you what your son's first name was?
Nathan.
Nathan. You want to tell us a little bit about Nathan?
He was a great kid. He just had his twin girls a year before, and he was about to meet them, getting ready. And he went out with his friends and never returned home. But he was from Ridgefield Park. I met you in Ridgefield Park, in the park, at a pet adoption.
Oh, my Lord, Ted.
That they were having. And I remember meeting you. You were so nice. That's why I felt compelled to give a call to you this evening.
I can't... I feel so bad for you, Ted. And you're in Florida now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And this happened in Florida, I guess?
Yes, in Florida. And now, like I said, I'm going through the process of trying to get the charges brought against the person that sold them the drugs. So
have you contacted the Attorney General's office there?
Yes.
Any help?
Even had a meeting with No, they said it was at state level and at the Miami-Dade level, and they would monitor it, but they can't intervene. So they send it back to the state, and I had a meeting with the second in command in February, and they gave me the runaround, and they're looking at other charges, other ways, but that's not enough. They know this person did it, and in Miami-Dade, they're very liberal, and I'm going to continue to fight.
Well, Ted, I want you to call us in a few weeks. I want you to get the name of the prosecutors who's involved so we can give this some national attention. And I'm very, very sorry you went through this, Ted.
I will call you because I need all the help I can get.
Mr. Call Screener, don't forget, so you get the names that we need to hear, that I need to make known to the American people, particularly the folks in Florida. And I can tell you, from me and this audience, our hearts go out to you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ted. We used to do this Bark in the Park at WABC. I don't know why they stopped, but they did. And I met thousands of wonderful people and hundreds of wonderful dogs. And we had a grand old time. And just fantastic patriots. I think it would occur like in August or July or whatever. In Bergen County, New Jersey. Now, Bergen County has gone Democrat, of course. But all that said, it was fantastic, the number of people that we would meet each year. And many of them who listen right now. I'm deeply sorry about Ted, for something like that to happen. That's just... I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
KFLD, Kennewick, Washington State. Richard, is that you?
Yes, it is. It's your Kennewick man. Mark, it's good to talk with you again.
My pleasure.
Yes, and again, I repeat myself. I do not need Hair Sniffer Joe's permission to not buy Chinese goods.
Exactly.
Because I know what they're doing with the money.
Or French goods
They're
now.
expand?
French goods now. Take them off the list, too.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll still eat French fries, but because we grow a lot of potatoes around here.
Well, they're not French, really.
Otherwise, no, it's so simple.
Just don't wear French dresses.
Over there now.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, stick with Newman's Own. He's got good dressing, no doubt about it.
Yes, very well
okay,
said.
Sir.
Yes.
But in all seriousness, Mark, I really wish that you would promote this more often about people can choose themselves to not support China. individually every day.
True.
And look at the tag. Look at the tag to check and see, is it made in China? Well, right next to it might be something that's made in Indonesia, which is pretty good. Not necessarily made in USA, but that's even better than China. So, hey, don't buy Chinese goods. It's why not just cut out the middleman and just send them military hardware? I mean, that's basically what we're doing.
All right, buddy. Excellent point. You're well put. All right, to whom else shall I speak? No. KNST, Tom from Tucson, Arizona, where they have the greatest gem show in the world once a year, and I sneak in from time to time. I walk through there and hope that people don't recognize me. Tom, is that you? Come on, Tom, yes or no?
Yes, it's a great pleasure to talk to you, Mr. Levin.
Thank you, sir.
So I just have a couple of things, and I mean, three things.
We've got 1 minute. Prioritize.
We got the woke people.
Yes.
They're not going to fight for us. They don't even realize what they have. We got illegal immigration. The illegal immigration won't fight for us, but legal immigrants will, because they love our lifestyle and they love taking care of their families. Just like my grandfather from Italy, who signed in on Ellis Island. Now, when I think of Ellis Island, I think of New York, I think of packed Italians, and they weren't comfortable. And I think a few too many people have just gotten comfortable here, and we need more legal immigration. Last but not least, I'd like to thank the French.
I've got to run, my brother. I apologize. Got to go. Give us another try. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our trucker friends, the freedom fighters in Ukraine and Taiwan, and, of course, you, the American people. Thank God for you patriots out there. I want to thank you. Fantastic audience. See you tomorrow.